Good. Our 15 jurors have returned. We waive calling of the roll.
Yes.
Okay, Cochran, remind me that you're still under oath.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes, Judge. Detective Cochran, I believe you testified on direct when Mr. Heck was asking you some questions about specifically the handles on the Applebee's bag.
Mm-hmm.
And you said you had cut those away from the bag itself because, number one, you didn't think you could get any good prints off of them.
Well, we're never sure, but sometimes we have to decide between prints or DNA. And in that particular circumstance, there was a higher likelihood of DNA than there was prints, considered the contorted surface.
Correct. And the other reason is, well, I suppose that the smoothness of that surface. Are you concerned about epithelials dropping off, skin cells dropping off of the?
Yeah, if you do any liquid processes, for sure, that would also be a concern. But that was sort of one of those items where we had a better chance of one or the other, and we really thought that the DNA was the way to go with that.
So then I guess there's a distinction between what surfaces could pick up DNA and skin cells particularly well, and then some surfaces that don't.
Definitely some surfaces, a porous surface such as cloth, things of that nature. Any type of rough surface is more likely. A handle on some type of instrument, potentially. Something like that would be more likely.
Smooth versus rough is an issue?
It can be. It doesn't mean we don't try either way. It's not a blanket statement.
Right. So I think we left off before break. We were talking about some of the items that were in the Applebee's bag.
Yes,
and
sir.
I was going to have you actually take those out if you could.
Sure.
Have those all been bagged together?
They have. They were located together, bagged together, stayed together. The only item that we sort of segregated within there was the time cards, just to keep them together because we actually had done some processing on those.
Okay. Your Honor, may we approach?
You may.
So for the record, we're referring to Defense 6, which is the Applebee's bag.
Yes, sir.
And so that bag that you have over there on your card includes everything that's
The
in it.
contents of that bag. Yes, sir.
I'm trying to think of the best way to do this.
That might be the best way.
Just leave it here.
You can do so, however, if he wants to.
I guess if you want me to pull this out front, so
Yeah,
that's
that's
the way then would be great. Would you just like me to put the contents onto the...
Yes. Do you mind if I glove up?
No, not at all.
testified earlier that when you were talking about the earring, you said you found an earring on the mezzanine next to Michelle's.
That's correct.
Correct. Is this the other?
Yes, that appears to be the matching earring.
That's the matching earring,
Yes, sir.
and that was found in the matching earring was found in
The
that
Applebee's
bag,
bag.
in the Applebee's bag.
Yes, sir.
These keys, those,
In the Applebee's bag.
those are also found in the Applebee's bag.
Yes, sir.
And she had a purse that was out there on the mezzanine in the same place as the Applebee's bag, correct?
Yes, by the time we got there, yes, sir.
And so these keys weren't found in her purse; they were actually found in the Applebee's bag. Correct? This Diet Coke can is found there as well.
Yes, sir.
And I think you were testifying before we went for lunch, and you said that you couldn't recall whether you had run or you'd done any kind of prints on that Diet Coke can. Is it true that you did actually do some testing
Yes,
on it?
it was in the fuming chamber with the Applebee's bag.
And you found some latent prints on that can, correct?
We found partials on both the bag, and we found partials on a lot of things, but on the bag and on the can.
Okay. So on the can you found some partial prints, but you just didn't find anything that you could compare against a reference sample.
Right. No comparison quality claims.
So when you're doing fingerprint work, you have to have a standard to compare against, correct?
Not necessarily. We did take standards from the folks at Thermo Fisher Scientific, but additionally we will run those through the APHIS system, which is a huge database of fingerprints, as well as through IAPHIS, which was the federal database.
Right, so if you don't, for instance, in circumstances where you don't know who committed a crime.
Right. We have that database in addition to any standards we may have in the matter.
In a circumstance where you have potential people who you think might have been involved, you can take standards from those people to compare against, or send it to a lab and have the lab technician compare against those prints that you collected, in addition to the prints anywhere in the world, or in the United States, that's been submitted to the APHIS system.
Correct.
These shoes, those are Michelle Moncrief's shoes.
I believe so, yes.
And we know she was wearing them, which we assume she's wearing her shoes when she came to work that morning.
Yes.
We know the killer put the shoes in the bag. Isn't that true?
It could be.
Could be. Somebody else put them there?
I don't. I can't tell you. I mean, one would think, in particular, since there is what appears to be blood staining on the shoes, that they went into the bag subsequent to the attack.
So there's blood staining on the shoes.
There's a reddish brown stain that appears to be blood. So there is on the interior of the shoe. Yes, sir.
And rough surfaces on the outside, especially where this flower is on the shoes. You would characterize that as a rougher surface. It's certainly not a smooth one.
It's a leatherette type surface.
And that neither one of those shoes was sent anywhere for any sort of DNA testing,
No, sir.
correct?
Absolutely. Yeah.
The rest of what was in this bag, there's lots of papers in here too, correct?
There are.
So these papers were found inside that Applebee's bag?
They were. Flyers, things of that nature, receipts,
You consider those to be
personal matters.
porous surfaces, correct?
That's correct.
So you would test those just with the, I think you call it N-a-day-a-dion, just like you would test the time card?
More than likely, except for the receipts, which have a special chemistry to them.
Okay. Because they're that kind of
Yeah,
odd
there's a
paper.
natural chemical coating on those that make them a little different in the processing.
And you can even leave prints on those just by touching them and
Just
seeing
like
them well.
anything else. Yeah.
Did you run any kind of testing on any of the papers that were found in that bag?
No.
And you may not know this, it may be a question for Detective Carnahan, but do you know if the papers were actually on top of the shoes?
I cannot tell you that.
Okay, that's a question I'll ask Detective Carnahan. what's in that bag. We're talking about standards and how it's important to collect standards. I'll give you a moment.
Yeah, please, 1 second.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Take your time. Ready?
Squared away.
All right. My approach to witness, Judge.
You may.
I hand you what's been marked as Commonwealth's Exhibit 140. Can you tell me what that is?
Those are the time cards that were located in the Applebee's bag.
And you're familiar with the fingerprint evidence that was submitted to the laboratory in this case to be tested?
I did more of the processing. Detective Carnahan took most of the items to APIS to Mr. Dorman.
Okay. So if I ask you questions about which standards have been submitted, are you going to know the answer to my question?
I wouldn't have been the one that took them down there. I may be able to, we can go through the evidence list and I can tell you some of the standards.
Okay, if you want to go through the evidence list, that's fine. You just tell me which standards were collected.
Actually, Mr. Dorman does not have the exemplars listed on both of his reports, only on one of them, so I can't specifically tell you which exemplars.
Okay.
Mr. Dorman.
That's fine. I'm going to hand you what's been marked as Commonwealth's Exhibits 57, 60, and 98. Can you tell the jury what those are photographs of?
Yes, this is Michelle's office area. This is the area outside the women's restroom. And these are two evidence placards denoting areas which fluoresce with Blue Star.
So, would I be out of line in saying the common theme in all three of them is their photographs of the area outside of, at least include the area outside of Michelle Mockney's office door?
That is correct.
These photographs, well, especially the earlier two, these are the ones that you actually the Detective Carnahan took, but you were with him as you were photographing the scene when you got there.
Okay.
Correct?
It's a photograph, and it's obviously early on. There are no scales or anything of that nature.
Okay. In any of these photographs, I guess especially in 60 or 57, do you you see any cardboard? I think it's what you referred to as like fluffy cardboard substance that was on the door.
Other than on the door?
Correct. I mean, in the photographs on the ground.
Not on the ground. No, not on the carpet.
So, and this may be a better question to ask Detective Carnahan, but that material that was collected, that was sent with the Accutrans that you were talking about earlier, the impression in the lab, that was actually taken from the office door, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, by either
Yes,
you
sir.
or Detective Carnahan.
Yeah, and Detective Rosing was there as well. I can believe he participated in that.
I want to talk to you about your investigation of the janitor's closet.
Okay.
You were in the janitor's closet on both the 29th in the late evening, I believe. It was during the day.
It was towards the evening.
In the evening. And then again on the 30th. Isn't that true?
That is correct.
Okay. And on the 29th, you processed it. You took some photographs. Kind of gave it a once-over, I guess is probably the way to put it.
Well, like I said, some other detectives had searched that closet and found some items of interest, and we went and collected those items.
Okay. So you were kind of following up to do the work as part of the
Collection of
forensics
what
team.
the detectives had found earlier.
And so that trip to the janitor's closet that day was just for the purpose of collecting those items they felt like were of interest.
Correct.
The next day, you went back there again
We did.
with, I think Detective Wagner was with you at the time,
Yes.
and maybe probably Detective Carnahan as well.
Yes.
And judging from the timestamps of your photographs, you all spent about an hour in there.
Yes, we did. We did a much more in-depth examination.
Okay. So in that in-depth examination of the janitor's closet, you did not find any sort of evidence of blood, correct?
No, we tested numerous things and did not find any blood.
You didn't find, other than in the sink, any sort of evidence that bleach was used?
No, not other than in the sink, sir.
You collected the P-trap from underneath the sink in the janitor's closet, correct?
Correct.
But you didn't perform any additional testing on that item.
Ultimately, we opted not to. No, sir.
You didn't see any blood on the surface of the countertop
No, sir.
that you would have noted?
Nope.
You didn't see any blood where someone would lean up against the countertop and clothes soaked with blood clean up?
No blood.
So the hour you spent in the janitor's closet, you found bleach had been poured down the drain in a janitor's closet. Correct?
We did. Yes.
Okay. And nothing else of note after spending an hour in there?
Well, we did multiple other things. If you look at the photography, we found numerous stains that were potentially blood that I testified earlier to that we tested. And then to do the photography of the blue star is a fairly in-depth process. So I'll believe you in saying that we were in there an hour seems about right. It would take that long to get all those things done.
And I guess I should have probably said, or gone further into saying of note, you didn't find anything else in there that you felt was relevant to test or to dig anything further into other than the stains that you'd already talked about?
Yeah, with just some suspicious stains that we did some presumptive testing on.
And to be clear about all those stains that you found, you did presumptive testing for phenolphthalein.
With phenolphthalein.
With phenolphthalein.
Yes.
On all of those stains. And
We did.
negative.
All negative.
Including the stain that was found on the outside door frame?
That
was
is
negative?
correct. Yes, sir.
approach with what's been marked as Commonwealth's Exhibit 41. Can you go back through that with the jury? I know you already talked about it once.
Sure.
What is that a photo of?
That is the mezzanine area.
And I don't know if you can see the actual evidence tag to realize which number it is that's up here on the air handler.
Yes, sir. Number 13.
It's number 13. How high up is that number on that air handler?
I don't have a scale on that, so I cannot say specifically.
It looks to be, if you were guessing, probably
5 to 6 feet.
5, 6 feet.
Yes, sir.
And so I guess the logical thing you can take away from that is that when she was struck, that blood flew 5 or 6 feet in the air, hit that air handler, correct?
There's multiple ways that spatter could have been formed, and we can't testify, but some type of force acting on that pool, whether her head was already in that pool, her head was dropped into the pool, I can't say how, but there was a significant amount of force applied to most likely her head and ultimately that pool, and that did indeed. It would have to be a significant amount of force to throw blood that far.
And I could probably, I think the jury saw the photo that you introduced, either it was introduced yesterday or today, that showed that impact spatter just radiating.
Yes, sir.
And so for anybody that was around that, I mean, it would have been, let me put it a different way. There was a lot of blood that radiated from there.
Yes, that definitely created a large pattern of projected blood.
You testified yesterday about the search of the defendant's truck, I believe. You
Executed the search warrant, yes, sir.
executed the search warrant. So you
Yes,
had a
sir.
search warrant brought to you to do testing of
Mr. Dooley's vehicle, yes.
I ask you to review those exhibits for me, please.
This is going to be the exterior of Mr. Dooley's truck, driver's side, front of the vehicle, bed of the vehicle, driver's seat, driver's floor mat area, back of the driver's seat, as well as a knife that was found in the vehicle.
And I think you said, well, first off, you start any sort of, when you process anything, you start out with a visual inspection.
That's correct. And usually some type of white light source so that it's easier to see things. Yes, sir.
You start out with a white light source, you do a visual inspection, see if you see any stains, any dark brown stains or anything of that nature at all, correct?
Correct.
Anything that would kind of spark your interest to go forward with additional forensic analysis.
That's correct.
Your testimony was, I think that, well, did you use phenolphthalein at all in the truck?
I don't believe so. I didn't make note of it. I'm pretty sure that I did not, actually.
So there was no noticeable stain or spot or anything of that nature for you to test with phenolphthalein?
No, sir.
But you did go ahead and process the truck with Blue Star.
I did.
You did.
Yes, sir.
And I think it's something, I didn't hear it in your testimony yesterday, that you went through, I believe, well, first of all, how long does it take to Blue Star?
It takes a little while to mix the chemicals up, but once the chemicals are mixed up, it's not a particularly long process.
So you're going through this truck, you're processing, you're not only looking to see what's there, but now you're looking for latent blood.
Yeah, that would be a good explanation. Yeah, blood that you can't see with your naked eye. Absolutely.
And so you get the search warrant, you're going through the truck, you're looking for stains, then you're processing for latent blood, you're looking for any little speck of anything that you can find that would luminesce with Blue Star in that truck.
That is correct. Yes, sir.
And you didn't find anything at all.
No, sir.
No evidence of blood in David Dooley's truck at all.
No, sir.
You tested the floor mats with Blue Star.
Yes, sir.
You tested the seats.
Yes, sir.
You tested. I'm not sure what else there is left to test in the truck. As far as Blue Star is concerned, you tested it all,
Yes, sir.
and nothing was found as a result of that testing.
That's correct.
Noting on Connell's Exhibit 124, looking at the floor mat of that truck, there is, looks like straw or dirt or something down here in.
There appears to be something of that nature, some type of dirt or debris.
Okay. You didn't smell any bleach?
No, sir. Nor do we have a reaction with Blue Star that would indicate it.
Exactly. So if you saw bleach in that car, if there was bleach in it, then you're going to get that bright pop.
That's correct.
And bleach isn't the only thing that tests as a false positive for the Blue Star, correct?
Other metals will, some coppers, irons, things of that nature, if there's flakes of that. But usually that's a fairly distinctive pattern.
One of the best things about Blue Star is it indicates to you when blood's there. It also indicates a cleanup, too.
It can potentially if bleach is used, yes, sir.
Did y'all see some dirt, debris on the brake pedals? Brake pedal, and looks like the emergency brake, but more specifically the brake pedal.
They do appear to be dirty, yes, sir.
To show you what's been previously marked as almost 133. That's a photograph you took of David Dooley.
That is correct.
That was pursuant to search warrant, correct?
That's correct.
That search warrant was, I assume you looked at the search warrant before you served it, correct?
Yes, sir.
That was done by Bruce McVeigh.
I don't recall at this time, but it could very well have been.
We can get into that with Detective McVeigh, or former Detective McVeigh, and Detective Stahl. You took not only that photograph, you took this photograph too, didn't you?
Yes, we took a series of photographs during that search warrant.
A series of photographs.
Yes, sir.
Judge, what number am I on?
You've done 6. So
Done
7 be
six.
the next.
They go through 7. This will be 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. This will be through 7 through 24, Judge.
24, you said?
24. Detective Cochran, just look through those photographs and make sure those are the ones you took. I think it was at 2:39 in the morning on the evening of the 31st, or excuse me, the early morning of the 31st of May.
Yes, the first photograph was at 2:30. Yes, sir. Those appear to be those photos.
Okay. So those are true and accurate to what you
yes.
took? 7, 6, and 5, Judge.
Objection.
No. Well, actually, I haven't seen them.
Objection on admission.
No.
Approach again, Your Honor.
Next.
Senator Cochran, I'd like you to go through each of those photographs and explain what's in them.
This is Mr. Dooley as he arrived at the office.
I was just
okay.
instructing this. Put all of them on the
Yeah, I'm clear. Mr. Dooley, as he arrived at his office, his right hand, inside, outside of his forearm, upper right arm, under right arm, left hand, inner left arm, upper right arm, or under left arm, I'm sorry, and upper left arm. Mr. Dooley without a shirt, front and back. Mr. Dooley unclothed, legs unclothed, feet unclothed. Mr. Dooley unclothed from the rear, and Mr. Dooley's leg again. Another photo of Mr. Dooley's leg, and final photo of Mr. Dooley's leg unclothed.
So, well, first off, your report indicates that you found nothing remarkable about Mr. Dooley.
That is correct.
Nothing that would indicate any kind of injury.
No, sir.
What did you think the relevance of taking a photograph of Mr. Dooley's close-up of his buttocks? What relevance would that have to this case?
Of which photo are you specifically referring to?
I'll let you look at him again.
Show me which one you're talking
Yes, sir.
about.
We'll just go through them all.
Mr. Dooley clothed. Right arm, hand,
Nothing remarkable.
nothing remarkable. Right arm, inside of arm,
Nothing
inside
remarkable.
of hand, nothing remarkable. Upper right arm, top,
Nothing remarkable.
nothing remarkable. Under right arm, nothing remarkable. Top of left hand,
Nothing
and
remarkable.
forearm. Correct.
Even down to the fingers.
Correct. Inside of left arm.
Nothing there either.
Yes, sir. Upper left arm.
Can I have the chair's approach? You approach.
Under
Yes.
left arm.
Go ahead and turn off that for a second. Right. Let me know when you're finished on the camera part. You.
Judge, at this time, I'm going to allow the jury to view these themselves.
Yes, what they depict.
The ones that they haven't shown up on the camera. Is that
Right.
true?
Go through those and just tell me what they depict, if you would please.
This is Mr. Dooley in his underwear and flip-flops from the front. Same photo in his underwear from behind. Mr. Dooley unclothed from the front, lower. Upper right thigh area. There's a little bit of discoloration. Upper left thigh area. Top of foot, left foot. Top of right foot, shin. Mr. Dooley from the rear. A close-up of the top left thigh from the rear. His calf. And another one of the top right thigh from the rear.
Permission to publish these to the jury, Your Honor.
No. And Kamal seen those before?
Yes, Judge.
Start them one at a time, that way. Whether we wait, passing, whether wait the whole way down.
Detective Cochran, I'll ask you again. What was the evidentiary relevance of taking close-up photographs of Mr. Dooley's buttocks and his genitalia as it relates to this case?
Because if there was some type of struggle in which Mr. Dooley was involved in, there photographs of, and that was the requirement of the search warrant.
Was the requirement of the search warrant drafted by, or the affiant was Detective McVeigh?
Again, I don't have the search warrant in front of me, but clothed and unclothed photos are standard in our cases.
Why don't you ask him to cover his genitals?
Because he could have an injury on his genitals. We can't cover up areas of a person that may or may not have an injury. We have to photograph everything. I understand it's uncomfortable, but it's our job to be detailed-oriented and to fully comply with that search warrant, and that's what we did, sir.
Did you take any pictures of anyone else like this
No, sir.
in connection with this case?
And I didn't have search warrants for anyone else, sir.
Did you take any other... Did you blue star anyone else's vehicle?
I don't believe so, no.
You didn't blue star the vehicle of Dan Mockbee, did you?
I did not.
You went through it and checked for stains, small stains.
I did use phenolphthalein on that vehicle.
You used phenolphthalein on that vehicle, but you did not blue star.
Right.
No search for latent blood evidence in that vehicle.
I did not.
No search for latent blood evidence in any other vehicle.
No, sir.
Besides the blue star that was applied in Thermo Fisher Scientific and to David Dooley's truck, was blue star utilized in this investigation?
Off the top of my head, Mr. Dooley's truck and the upstairs mezzanine developed area, the office area.
The upstairs bathrooms, did you blue star those on the second level?
I don't believe so. I don't recall. If we did, there was no reaction that we documented.
I was looking for photos of the upstairs bathrooms. Of anything other than what you could see from the entryway. Were there any additional photos taken of the sink areas or anything like that?
Not to the best of my recollection.
The two sinks closest to the mezzanine that could have been used for somebody to clean up blood?
Again, there was a visual inspection done. I don't recall if we did blue star or not, but there was no reaction.
You didn't search for any latent blood evidence?
Well, sure. We always look for blood with a visual inspection, as I've told you before. But I don't recall if we used blue star up there or not.
So visual inspection, looking for blood, you could see it, but latent you can't see.
Right. You try to develop. So there, I don't recall if we used blue star up there.
You completed a report in this case, didn't you?
I did.
And the report detailed everything you did with your scope of the investigation.
Well, not just the written report, but also the photographs.
The photographs.
Yes, sir.
But
It's all part of the document.
Your
Yes,
written
sir.
report is supposed to preserve everything that you did, so that you have an accurate factual account of what your role in this investigation was.
Right. That is a supplement to the rest of the photographs and everything else. It's not called a case report. It is called a supplement to everything else that we did.
So that something as important as blue starring a bathroom, looking for latent blood evidence in a bathroom, you could leave that out of a report and it'd be complete and accurate?
As long as we have documentation photographically, that'll tell the date, the time, the location we did it.
You don't have documented photographs of having done that.
That's why I'm saying I don't recall if we did it, sir.
You obviously did an inspection of the elevator, correct? That goes up to the second floor
Yes.
mezzanine?
Yes.
I assume that was a visual inspection too.
I don't recall if we used Blue Star there or not. If we did, there was no reaction.
Okay. If you used it, there was no reaction, but you don't know if you used it or not.
Document.
Okay.
We didn't find, yes, sir.
Is there anywhere else you might have Blue Star?
Again, not that I recall, sir.
I have nothing further at this time, Judge.
Okay.
Just can you approach quickly?
Take a break. In the trial of any case, it is your duty not to form express opinions of the case is submitted to you, not to converse with or allow yourselves to be addressed by any other person on any subject of the trial. Furthermore, officer, party, witness, or attorney should talk to you without permission of the court. You are instructed to report unlawful attempts to contact you, as described previously to the sheriff and myself. Also advise that you should not research, read, or listen to or view any news media accounts of the trial, whether utilizing phones or computers. Be back here. I will come get you hopefully in 5 10 minutes.
All rise.